This is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now, the G8 is meeting in France this week, and they're having a meeting on... Now, the G8 countries are giving over $4 billion in aid and loans to North Africa, mainly Tunisia and Egypt, to help the waves of refugees from Libya. What do you think of the U.S. and the U.K. providing the majority of the funding to that?
I think the funding is based in part by the United States being a superpower and a country that has a great deal of responsibility due to its resources, and it's obligated to help those countries. I think the United Kingdom, owing to their severe financial crisis right now, able to provide aid, are in a position to change the balance of the Middle East and the face of the Middle East landscape after the fall of Saddam Hussein. I also think foremost that they can benefit from those countries by using their exports and their people to the best of their abilities, which is increasing consumption and decreasing aid, and decreasing also giving them low-skilled jobs, which they're more highly qualified to do.
Now, Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates. Now, Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among the youth. Now, Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among the youth. Now that countries are losing tourism and foreign investment, what can the G8 do besides giving them money?
I think that those countries have had a short output per person for a number of years or decades. I think that basically if you started with an output of 2.8 percentages of output, and they would increase substantially by not doing those things that you have done in the past years, run those policies. Those policies are ineffective and need change immediately. If you want the people to produce, you need to give them an incentive to produce, meaning you have to give them education, you have to give them an incentive to want to work harder. Without that incentive, I don't think things will change substantially.
Fallout from the Japanese nuclear crisis and the lack of healthcare workers throughout the world are on the agenda as well. What can the G8 do to strengthen healthcare throughout the world?
I think the tragedy that happened in Japan was a horrible tragedy, and there's not much you can do about it except to clean up the mess. I think they should send foreign aid workers from the United States, from all countries, from the United Nations to help with the cleanup and assist. I think that Japan is a very good island and is in a good position to trade and increase their output right now due to the crisis, because people are inputting more money into that country. When the crisis happened in Haiti, there was input of funds, there was input of resources and people, but it wasn't substantially meaningful because that country didn't have too much to give. I think Japan is in a position to stabilize and grow over the coming years based on the aid they received thus far.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Yes, it's hot out here.
So in closing, this is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you.
Hey John, I know you're in the hospital, you're sick right now. Then once you get better, buddy, you hear me? Spider-Man says, get out of that bed and go take some skirts, nurse skirts. You can do it, John. Get better soon.
Hi, John. This is Spider-Woman. I want you to get well and get on your feet. Your family loves you. You hang in there, big guy.
Now, this is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now, the G8 is meeting in France this week, and the G8 countries are giving over $4 billion in aid and loans to North African countries, mainly Egypt and Tunisia, to help with the waves of refugees from Libya. What do you think of the U.S. and the UK providing the majority of the funding? At the moment, I actually support something like that, because I believe in order for there to be peace in the Middle East, Egypt and Tunisia is going to be the front runners. And if other countries sees the help and sees that that's the way to go, I think they'll follow suit. And I think that is the best way for us to achieve peace in the Middle East. Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the... Come on, you big truck. Come on, truck. Get going. Huh? Yeah. Oh. Now, Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among the youth. What? Now, Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among the youth. Now that these countries have lost tourism and foreign investment, what can the G8 do besides giving them money? Well, I think that takes us back to the first question. Once they establish peace in that region again and the tourism comes back, which is very, very important, I think there'll be a lot more work. But if not, those countries have always went in other countries to look for work and to look for aid. But like I said, if they help their countries first, and if the U.S. is helping them and that's where the money is going, then yeah, they will help them find work and help them find employment right there in their own country. Fallout from the Japanese nuclear crisis and the lack of healthcare workers throughout the galaxy are on the agenda as well. What can the GA do to help? Fallout from the Japanese nuclear crisis and the lack of healthcare workers throughout the world is on the agenda. What can the GA do to help the shortage of healthcare workers throughout the galaxy? Well, my first answer would be hire the people from Egypt and Tunisia since they need employment. But they have to be qualified to work in the healthcare countries. There are people right here in the United States that are looking for work in that field, that go to schools to learn. And if they're interested, there should be a way that the people could find them and then hire them. People like the United States, Canada, they have a great program that are in the health field. And Japan should look into hiring them and bringing them there. So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers? Well, like I always do, take care of this planet. It's the only one we got. And love one another. So in closing, this is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. John, this is Blvd. We're wishing you a very healthy recovery and hope to see you back out here real soon. Godspeed and God bless. This is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now the G8 is meeting in France this week, and the G8 countries are giving over $4 billion in aid and loans to North Africa, mainly Egypt and Tunisia, to help with the waves of refugees from Libya. What do you think of the US and the UK giving the majority of the funding?
I think it's really ridiculous when we have so many problems on our home front. We have so many issues here that they could be taken care of, and the United States and all these countries are worried about what's going on in other countries. Why don't these countries learn to take care of themselves instead of relying on everybody else? We have plenty of problems here that the United States can be putting that money into instead of giving it here, there, everywhere to every other country in need and not taking care of business here in the United States, okay? Where half of the people are looking for new jobs, the unemployment's crazy here, and meanwhile the United States is just concerned with other countries. Take care of what's at home first before you go helping other people.
Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rate in the world, especially among the youth. Now, what can the G8 countries do? Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among the youth. Now that those countries have lost tourism and foreign investment, what can the G8 countries do besides give them money?
Like I said, what about the unemployment rate in this country? They're perfectly all adults. They have their own governments. They have their own everything. Why don't they worry about themselves instead of relying on other countries to pull them out of their messes? We have a high unemployment rate too. Why don't they worry about that instead of worrying about other countries? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Take care of what's at home first before you go running around taking care of other countries. That's my firm belief. Take care of what's going on here.
Now, fallout from the Japanese nuclear crisis and the lack of healthcare workers is on the agenda as well. What can the G8 do to help the shortage of healthcare workers around the world?
Well, I mean, countries are sending healthcare workers and all the, aid that they can, and I think that's, I feel bad for what happened over there, but I'm sure that if the same thing happened over here, all these countries would not be rushing to our aid. I'm sure we'd get some assistance, but we'd pretty much be left on our own to take care of our own problems. And Japan is one of the really big world powers. I think that they can manage on their own, and like I said, if it happened here, I doubt that they'd be sending everybody over to the United States to take care of us. So take care of what's going on at home first before you go all around the world and then start trying to fix everyone else's problems. Fix what's going on in the U.S. first. We got all the same problems.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Like I said, take care of home, and then if you got time after that, then go ahead. I don't think aid to other countries is wrong, but I think you should take care of your home front first. take care of America.
So in closing, this is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you.
Catwoman here on Hollywood Boulevard, wishing you a very speedy recovery. Love and kisses.
We're at top tours, but I can't sell till right here. We want on the starters that you
Get better soon.
and I'll give you guys the bag.
Now this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now we're talking about corporate crime and other corporate criminals. Now recently, the largest insider trading case against Raj Rajaratnam has found a conviction, and he is now serving his years in prison and will be joining me as one of my fellow cellmates. What do you think of the largest insider trading case and more corporate criminals going to jail and joining me at my country club?
I don't know how many of them actually go to jail or get reduced sentences, or it's a typical case of money. Money is the root of all greed, and people who are greedy, they just always are getting involved in all kinds of scandals because they think that they could either buy their way out of it, cover their way up, or whatever. So that's usually the people who are causing all the trouble. So I'm not really surprised whatsoever. And that's how the rich get richer and the poor actually stay where they are.
Now I was in for a Ponzi scheme. Now Ponzi schemes are clearly illegal, and I'm in jail for that. But there's a debate, is insider trading actually illegal? Should insider trading be illegal?
No, of course not. It's absolutely ludicrous that it should be legal. Like I said, it's the rich going around in circles hoping that they don't get caught doing what they're not supposed to do just so that they could get a little bit richer. It's absolutely not right, and they're worried about losing their money, and so they do all kinds of stuff that they're not supposed to and just hope they don't get caught, but unfortunately they do. And I think they should pay the price like everybody else does for, you know, whatever they do, selling drugs, doing whatever else they do. It's the same thing. Just because you're wearing a suit does not mean that you're above the law, or because you are driving a Bentley. Sorry.
Now also the head of the IMF was recently involved in a sex scandal and is now arrested and is currently out on bail, but he's not guilty yet, or the trial's going on. What do you think of the head of the IMF in this whole sex scandal?
Nothing new. I mean, first the mayor of New York, this, that, the other. I mean, like I said, if they think that they could hide it and get away with it, they're gonna do it. And just the fact that he resigned, I mean, come on, that's a little bit of a giveaway. If he's completely innocent of it, then he would have stood his ground, kept his job, and, you know, we wouldn't be like having this whole big thing. But of course, one politician after another,
I think it's smart.
whether it's Arnold, whether it's the mayor, whether it's whatever, if they think that they could get away with it, they do.
So in closing, is there any last minute?
Money buys silence.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
No, that's it. I hope that this country at some point has some change, but you know, these patterns repeat. You see them repeating over and over and over again. So I don't really see that it's going to change. It'll be another one and another one and another one. So there you have it.
So in closing, this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now corporate corruption and greed is out right now, and recently, a couple weeks ago, we've had the largest insider trading case against Raj Rajaratnam come out, and he is now serving time in prison and will join me at my country club in prison. Now, what do you think of the largest insider trading case finally coming out in a conviction against Raj Rajaratnam? I think it's wrong, man. I think it's very wrong. It's not cool. Now, there's a debate that if insider trading isn't as bad as what I did, a Ponzi scheme. Now, should insider trading actually be illegal, or should we legalize insider trading? Legalize it. Legalize it? All right, help out buddies like us. Now, also, the IMF, the head of the IMF, is involved in a sex scandal and allegedly attacked a maid in a New York hotel room. Now, what do you think of this whole IMF sex scandal going on? It's wrong what the guy did. I think it's not cool. Well, it's not a conviction yet. Do we think he actually did it? Yeah. No? We could always let you get out. Now, in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers? Just be good. Just be good to everybody. Have a nice evening. So in closing, this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Hey John, this is Michael Myers on Hollywood Boulevard. Get well soon, my friend. We need you back out here in the streets with your son. Have a nice day and get well, okay? Bye-bye. Now this is this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now corporate corruption and greed is out there, and recently the largest insider trading case in history is out, and Raj Jaratna will be joining me as one of my fellow cellmates. What do you think of the largest insider trading case coming into conviction?
What can I tell you? You're the one that's asking me. What do I have to say? Tell you about? I don't understand. What? Ask me again. Can you hear me?
Well, I can't hear you, but I can see that the mic hears you, so I don't know when you're done. So are you done?
Yeah.
Now also there's a debate now, since I was in for a Ponzi scheme, which is clearly wrong. What do you think of insider trading? Should insider trading actually be legal, or should it stay illegal?
Stay legal. Let's stay legal. Yeah, that's it. Stay legal. What do you think?
Okay. Also the head of the IMF is recently involved in a sex scandal and allegedly attacked a maid in a New York hotel room. What do you think of this whole IMF sex scandal and the head of the IMF allegedly raping a girl in New York?
They shouldn't be doing those raping people or ladies. You're supposed to respect people, girls. I don't know if you hear me.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Know that what can I tell you? Everybody should be good, and that's it. What else can I tell you?
So in closing, this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you.
Hello, Dan. I wish you get better. I'll be praying for you. Okay? So everything's gonna be fine. Thank you very much, Dan. Bye-bye. Be good. Love you, and I'll pray for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now we're talking about corporate crime and corruption. Now recently, the largest insider trading case against Raj Jaratna came in a conviction, and he'll now be joining me at my country club in jail. So I'll have a new cellmate to share my time with. Now what do you think about the largest insider trading case against Raj Jaratna coming into conviction?
I think the world should be more like Neverland, where we're all kids and there are no corporate bullies. That's what I think.
Now I was in for a Ponzi scheme, but Raj Jaratna was in for insider trading. Now I was in for a Ponzi scheme, but Raj is in for insider trading. Now there's a debate that insider trading isn't really that big a deal, and they should make it legal and not be illegal. Do you think insider trading should stay illegal, or should we legalize insider trading?
I don't think it should be legal, because to me that sounds like a pirate, and I hate pirates. They're scary.
You're just drifting. You're slowly drifting.
Sorry.
Okay. Now also, the head of the IMF was recently involved in a sex scandal in New York. They say he allegedly attacked a maid and tried to rape her. Now what do you think of the head of the IMF and his whole criminal arrest and stuff like that? He's not convicted yet, but do you think he'll be joining me at my country club as a fellow cellmate anytime soon?
It's possible. It could be another Kobe Bryant thing where, the woman's just after his money. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not going to say either way. I'm not on the jury.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Hi everybody. Tinkerbell says hi.
Okay, so in closing, this is Bernie Madoff talking to you. Now this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now recently the largest insider trading case against Raj Jaratna came into conviction, and he will now be joining me as one of my fellow cellmates in prison. Now what do you think of the largest insider trading case against Raj Jaratna coming into conviction and giving me a new cellmate?
Well, I think that was good on the part of the jury that they convicted him, because insider trading it's appalling. It affects everybody down from the little guys to the big ones. And it's about time that we show them that we're not messing around.
Now, there's a bit of a debate about Ponzi schemes versus insider trading. Now, I was in for a Ponzi scheme, but Raj, you know, his thing wasn't that bad. He was just in for insider trading. You know, Martha Stewart got off on that more or less.
Right.
Now, should insider trading actually be illegal, or should we actually legalize insider trading? Because it's really not as bad as the kind of things I do.
They're both pretty underhanded and sneaky. I don't think either one of them should be illegal.
Also, the head of the IMF is involved in a sex scandal, allegedly raping a girl in a New York hotel room. What do you think of this whole scandal with the IMF? Is he going to be my new cellmate for me anytime soon?
I believe so. I mean, when you're someone as powerful as he is and you're accused of what he's accused of, nobody's going to let this one lie, and I don't think they should. I think they should look really hard into this and find out exactly what's going on.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Just have a great summer, everybody.
So in closing, this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now, this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now, recently, the largest insider trading case in history has been filed and came in a conviction against Raj Rajaratnam, and he'll be joining me as a fellow cellmate. Now, what do you think of the largest insider trading case with Raj Rajaratnam giving me a new cellmate?
I think these cronies are a result of Jack Abramoff and all the people in Washington that were corrupt. They had to steal, they were greedy. I mean, your friends and everybody, you got everybody involved in your little Ponzi, and it didn't work. You got away with millions and millions of dollars. Now your reputation's in the mud. All they worked for years and years to build, it's like crumbled because everybody wanted to be greedy and be fat cats on Wall Street. It doesn't make any sense.
Now, there's also a bit of debate. Since I was in for a Ponzi scheme, which is clearly wrong, insider trading isn't really clear if it's right or wrong. Should insider trading actually be legal or illegal?
I think the insider trading is a slight, just because somebody gets a tip that the market's going to go up when it's actually going to go down for some people and go up for that person because of the information they have, it's not right. I think Patrick Bateman made it perfectly clear when he said there's nothing wrong with insider trading. I mean, he's a fictional character, but he's a lot better than Gordon Gekko.
Okay, and also, there's some allegations against the head of the IMF allegedly raping a girl in a New York hotel room. What do you think of these allegations? Will he be convicted and possibly join me as a fellow cellmate anytime soon?
Well, he's a dirty old man, but innocent until proven guilty. I think Dominique Strauss-Kahn is actually the French seducer. He's good at that. He's a lot better at that in politics because he hasn't been able to keep his name out of the news for that long. He's actually had 3 prior instances of him raping or molesting or touching someone inappropriately. So I think he's just doing what he knows best.
Yeah, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Hi, Mom.
So in closing, this is Bernie Madoff from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. For those of you who don't know, they haven't fixed a street on Hollywood Boulevard.
No, they haven't.
This is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you. Now, the G8 is meeting in France this week, and the G8 is meeting in France this week, and they're giving over $4 billion in aid and loans to North Africa, mainly to Egypt and Tunisia, to help with the wave of refugees from Libya. Now, what do you think of the US and the UK providing the majority of the funding to that?
Well, considering the U.S. is pretty far in debt, I'm not entirely sure where we're getting that money. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Now, Egypt and Tunisia have some of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among the youth. Now that these countries have lost their tourism and foreign investment, what can the G8 do besides giving those countries money?
Well, unfortunately, I'm afraid pretty much everything is centered around money. Can't do a whole lot without money. So, I mean, you could try and build up tourism and advertise, but once again, that takes money.
Now, also on the agenda, the fallout from the Japanese nuclear crisis and the lack of healthcare workers throughout the galaxy is also on the agenda. What can the G8 do to help the shortage of healthcare workers throughout the galaxy?
I mean, we could try and send over some of our healthcare workers, but I mean, it's kind of hard when they're needed elsewhere as well. But I do love Tokyo. Tokyo Disney is there.
In closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the viewers?
Everyone be safe. Tinkerbell's watching.
So in closing, this is Jarbon from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you.
Hi, John. This is Tinkerbell saying feel better, okay? Feel better.